Morning, folks. It's early Sunday morning. You can hear the birds outside chirping. It's about 7:30 here. I couldn't sleep, so I just did what I thought I'd do. I thought I'd get up and have a chat with you people. How do I start this week's subject? Basically, boxing is an absolute circus. It is an absolute circus, clown show, I would even say, at times. Especially this last few weeks, that's really come to the forefront. You know, we had this crossover boxing event last weekend, which I covered last week, in Ngannou against Joshua, and Joshua completely flattened Ngannou. I've said before, I'm not a fan of crossovers. I think people from combat sport should stay in their own sport. As James Toney proved when he went to mixed martial arts years ago, he had no hope, he got taken out. There are some exceptions to people who cross over, like Holly Holm, for example, and Ray Mercer had some success in mixed martial arts. But overall, I'm not a big fan of, excuse me, sorry about that. Overall, I'm not a big fan of mixed martial artists or whoever coming over to boxing, or boxers going over to mixed martial arts. I just don't see the point of it myself, but that's just me. Anyway, the fallout from Joshua and Ngannou, already excuses have started coming from Francis Ngannou's camp. Apparently he said he was very tired and he was sweating, but he didn't feel hot or something like that, and he was tired, and that's why he was wiped out. And it's like, well, you were in there with a former two-time heavyweight champion who has been boxing for over a decade, whereas rewind back to October, you were in there with a current world heavyweight champion who has a history of getting out of shape and hasn't actually been in with a dangerous opponent for a long time, since Wilder, and Wilder was only dangerous with his punch. Couldn't box for shit, as we all know. So he was unmotivated, only motivated for the money. We know Fury only loves the money. That's exactly what Fury does. He's just after the money. We know this. They're all after the money, don't get me wrong. But that fight was a money grab. He thought it'd be easy. He came in fat and overweight. I've covered this. We've said this all before. I'm not the only one who's saying it. And you were flattered, Mr. Ngannou was flattered by that performance because Fury didn't turn up. And then you had all the conspiracy theories last week of, it was a fixed fight and all this crap. Yeah, it's a bullshit. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. All these people, and they're usually mixed martial arts fans, going on all week in the build up to the fight that Anthony Joshua had no chance, he was going to get wiped out and all this stuff. And it was like, on what planet did you possibly believe that? A professional boxer, former two-time heavyweight champion, he's still in his prime. Yes, he's had losses. Yes, he's had blips in his career. Don't get me wrong. But on what planet? Now, I thought Joshua would win all along. I didn't think he'd get him out so early. I thought he'd be a bit cagey and try and get him worn out and take him out late on. I was shocked that he took him out so early. But then all the excuses from Ngannou, and it's like, stop it. Just admit you were beaten by a perfect example of the heavyweight division. You were in there with a heavyweight boxer, two-time heavyweight champion. You know, it doesn't take anything away from Ngannou, what he accomplished in mixed martial arts. Now, I've said before, I'm ignorant about mixed martial arts. I don't follow it. I used to follow it in the early days, in its infancy, in the early 90s. You know, when you had the likes of Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn and people like that hanging around. But I've not followed it. I've watched occasional big fights here and there, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not an expert on it. I can't really comment on MMA scene. So there's that. Yeah, that's just fucking ridiculous. You know, just stop with the excuses. And Ngannou fans, just stop with the bullshit. He lost. Deal with it. He's not a boxer. He's not a professional boxer. It's his second professional fight. He's lost them both, by the way. Not saying he shouldn't do it. He can do what the fuck he wants. He seems like a nice guy. Hats off to him. You want to try boxing. You want to try and make a career at your late age. I think he's 38 now. and he's got a knee. He's had a knee replacement, I believe. So, why are you? Well, I don't know. I don't get it. But hey, if he wants to carry on, that's fine. That doesn't bother me. But I think the hype definitely got into his head. He definitely believed he was better than he was, and I think his backslappers got in his ear a little bit and made him believe that he was an elite heavyweight who could beat the top 5, and that isn't the case. Next bit of clown world stuff that's going on. Obviously, on the night, I think it's the 20th of April. Devin Haney is scheduled to defend his WBC light welterweight title against Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia's behaviour has been very erratic, to say the least. I saw them at the press conference a few weeks ago, and he looked high. He looked fucking stoned. He didn't look like he should be there. He sounded drunk. And ever since then, it's just been this downward spiral of ridiculous claims and talking about he knows who killed Tupac Shakur, and the elites are out to get him, and they're going to kill him and all this stuff. Just ranting like a fucking madman. And I'm looking at it, thinking, a lot of people think he's putting it on to try and get inside Haney's head. Maybe if he isn't genuinely insane, then he's doing a fucking good job and convincing job of making people think he is, because he looks crazy to me. He looks like he should be nowhere near a professional ring. He looks like he needs fucking help. It's erratic behaviour, the weird tweets and interview sound bites and shit, and I don't know, there's something not fucking right there, just from what I'm looking at. I've dealt with mentally ill people in the past, and he seems genuinely disturbed. But hey, if it is all a game, and it is all gamesmanship and head games, then he's a fucking good actor, because he's convincing me that he's fucking mad. So I don't know if that fight will go ahead, actually, because every time I look up anything about, if I go on social media or on YouTube, there's a video of Ryan Garcia just acting like a crazy person, ranting and raving like a madman, and it's like, this isn't good. If it's real, he should be fucking assessed. He needs help. He really needs help, and this is what I mean. This is why boxing's such a fucking clown show. He's either resorting to this kind of behaviour to sell tickets and sell interest in the fight, or he's completely fucking insane and needs fucking counsel. He needs help. He needs medical help. He needs psychological help, because this is not fucking normal. And he's never acted like this, to my knowledge, before any of the other fights. The Tank Davis fight and all the other, the Luke Campbell fight, I don't recall him ranting and raving like a lunatic. He may have done, let me know if he has, but I've never seen it, not that I can remember. Nothing stuck in my brain until all this ridiculousness has come out just now. So I don't know whether that fight will happen. This could be a game to try and get Haney off his A game, who the fuck knows, but yeah, something not right there. And my final piece of this rant today about the boxing circus is the fight between Jake Paul, who I don't like. YouTube boxing, as I've said many times on here, I don't like it, I don't have time for it. And former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson, who is 58 years old, right, and hasn't had a professional fight in 19 years, which he lost. Let's get this right. His last 2 fights were losses, TKO losses to Danny Williams and Kevin McBride. And Mike Tyson made the statement himself at the end of that fight, I can't disgrace the sport of boxing anymore, I don't have it anymore. Words to that effect. I have no interest in seeing a 58-year-old man who hasn't boxed in years. Yes, he had that exhibition against Roy Jones a couple of years ago. Exhibitions don't mean anything. Exhibitions are basically glorified sparring sessions. And Roy Jones Jr. is an older man himself, so it doesn't mean anything. And I've seen all the training footage of Tyson, and everyone says, oh, doesn't he look good? Oh, look at him, he looks so good. Yeah, he looks good for a 58-year-old man. Anybody can look good in the gym, hitting pads and hitting punch bags and training. Anybody can look fucking good. But you stick him in a ring, in a real fight, you'll soon get exposed. And I have no interest in seeing this fight. Not at all. I don't see what anybody gains from this. If Jake Paul loses to Mike Tyson, then you lost to a 58-year-old man, and you have no business being in this sport, which I still maintain. That's just my opinion, people. You don't agree with what I say, that's fine. We're all entitled for our opinions. I'm not saying I'm necessarily right, it's just my opinion. Or, if Mike Tyson loses, well, so what? You beat a 58-year-old man up. So who cares? It doesn't mean anything. The young people who make up probably 99% of Jake Paul's fan base will look at it and go, oh, look, he beat Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's this, Mike Tyson. People like us who know boxing and have been around the sport for a long time know this is bullshit and have no interest in seeing it. This fight is marketed to, that phrase I hate, the casuals and young people. I'd say the average age of a Jake Paul fan is probably about 15, maybe younger. They have no fucking idea who Mike Tyson. They know who he is, but they have no idea about his career because they weren't even alive yet when he retired. After he retired, when he was fighting, their parents probably were only kids. You know, I know I don't like it. They're adults; they can do what they want. Mike Tyson, if he wants to make that money, because he will get a lot of money for this, fine. I don't begrudge that. Yeah, he's had his problems with money. We know that over the years with the tax man in America. He's probably desperate for money. So, fair enough. You know, you get paid. I don't care. It doesn't. But I just think it's a fucking disgrace that Jake Paul, although he's a novice himself, obviously, he lost to the only sort of young, active professional boxer he's ever faced was Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury's not that fucking good either. Let's get that straight. And then, you know, I think that last guy he beat, I think he was a pro boxer, but he was a fucking tomato can, as the Americans would say. You know, he wasn't anything special. And he probably came to lose. He was getting paid a lot of money, so it didn't fucking matter. Whatever. And he's also a crypto scammer as well, I understand. I did a bit of research on Jake Paul last year when I found out, because I didn't know who the fuck he was, because I'm not a 14-year-old child, so... And they kept, of course, it was everywhere, this influencer boxing shit, so I looked him up. And he's a bit of a scummy individual. Him and his brother are both a pair of fucking scumbags. And at least his brother has the sense to become a professional wrestler now, because that's pretty much more what they're about, I would imagine. They'd fit better into that world than the boxing world. But Jake Paul, he doesn't come across as a nice person, not to me. I've looked into his past. Their dad's a bit of a creep. So yeah, I'm not a fan of any of them, and I'm not a fan of this fight. Yeah, getting there with Tyson. So I don't see what the end game is really, apart from money. That's the obvious one. It's money. And again, it's just more circus. And that fight, I guarantee you, will get more coverage and more press than proper fights that we want to see. You know. So no, I love boxing. I love boxing with all my heart. But it's always been a circus. It's always been a fucking clown show at times. And yeah, sometimes I look at the sport and I think, why the fuck do I watch this? Why do I watch this? It's awful. But then you'll see a great fight, and that's what draws you back in. And you think, yes, an inspirational performance. Yes, this is why I love this sport. And I'm not just shitting on the sport. You know, I love boxing. 2024 is shaping up to be a fucking great year, like 2023 was. So there's some good fights I'm looking forward to. But yeah, just this past few weeks, it has become a bit of a circus, and I don't necessarily enjoy that side of it. But hey, you know, it keeps it interesting, I suppose, gives us something to talk about. So, all right, that's enough out of me, folks. I hope you have a good Sunday. I'll speak to you next week. Take care, everybody.